Welcome to Zoe Stories. Caught at work in pantyhose. My name is Marco, 30 years old, junior accounts analyst at a mid-level marketing firm downtown. Monday to Friday, gray suit, clipped badge, commuter mug with cheap coffee, spreadsheets that live in a cycle of deadlines and revisions. The office building stands 6 stories of glass and steel, elevators that smell faintly of lemon, and a bullpen where voices rise and fall like tides. Outside, the city presses on. Horns, footsteps, the subway hiss. Inside, fluorescent lights hum. Cubicles line the open floor, monitors glow, and the clock over the copy machine marks time in quiet ticks. Colleagues swap small talk about lunches, weekend plans, and the latest industry newsletter. The workplace runs on routine. On roles, everyone performs until 5 o'clock. Roles are safe. Roles keep secrets tucked away. Home is a small rental 2 stops away. Isabella lives there with me on weekends and often during the week. Isabella works in design, creative, decisive, always one step ahead in color and cut. On Saturdays, she fills the apartment with music and thrift store treasures. On Sundays, she experiments with looks and brings them home like proofs of a theory. Her laugh fills rooms. Her hands choose fabrics with surgical certainty. Her presence rearranges the air. Isabella knows about clothes that change a person. She has seen transformations happen under her direction, little experiments that start with eyeliner and end with new posture. She knows wardrobe can rewrite a face. She does not know everything. Certain private rituals remain private. Certain urges stay folded into the seams of old shirts. The secret arrives on a Tuesday, small and quiet. A work lunch runs late. The office kitchen empties into the noon din, voices trailing away in clusters. A client call stretches over lunch, and then another. By the time the conference room clears, the calendar reads 30 minutes until the next meeting and no time to go home. Isabella had left an extra pair in my desk drawer last week, a careless present disguised as a prank, a small packet of sheer pantyhose, folded like a promise. The packet sat under pens and old receipts, waiting. Most days it remained untouched. Today, the packet slides into my hands like a dare when the fluorescent hum grows loud and the corridor quiet. Paper rustles. The fabric slips over knees, gliding smooth like water. Pantyhose stretch and hug, creating a second skin beneath the suit. The seam aligns. The nylon catches the light when I cross the bullpen, a faint sheen along the calf. The movement changes the way the chair meets skin, the way shoes glide across tile. A small thrill sharpens posture. The fabric whispers against the legs with every step. The office moves around the change like a tide. Conversations continue. Keyboards clack. Phones ring. No one names the difference, but some glances linger a beat longer. The copier door hums open. A teammate rides the elevator up 2 floors. The pantry light flickers. A janitor pushes a cart past the glass wall. The world keeps marching. Isabella's name flashes across the phone at 2:13 p.m. She asks about dinner, mentions a new exhibit. Her words land like an anchor. The packet in the drawer becomes a secret that travels under the shirt and suit jacket. The conference call drags on, voices muffled by distance and the click of a pen. The legs under the desk sit straight, steady, and the nylon cushions small movements into a quiet confidence. Files shuffle. The director walks to the window and taps a note into his phone. A meeting invitation pops on the screen. Surprise, client presentation for PM Boardroom B.
No time to change.
No time to shed what sits beneath the trousers. The calendar fills with decisions instead of exits. Lunch becomes an afterthought. The bullpen fills with footsteps returning from the elevator. Coats hang on chairs like flags. The afternoon sun slices through the blinds, casting bars across desks and the faint sheen of pantyhose. The skin of the calves under the nylon takes on a different readability under the light. Smooth line, small reflection, private signal against the corporate wardrobe. A coworker, Jared from legal, hovers by the printer and cracks a joke about dress code. The joke lands like a pebble in water, small ripples traveling across the floor. Laughter erupts and dies. The director's brow tightens, and he walks toward boardroom B with long, even strides. Instructions slide across the team's chat feed. Bring last quarter's deck. Client arrives early. The next hour tightens into schedule. Footsteps echo in the hallway. The elevator pings. Chairs scrape. The office becomes a machine ready for performance. The pantyhose remain hidden beneath 2 layers of cloth, an unnoticed detail to strangers and a daring secret to the one who wears them. The nylon warms to the skin. The suit pants crease and fall differently now, lines shifting. A small adjustment of posture. Knees together, ankles crossed, reframes a stride into something practiced. At 3:40 p.m., a late request arrives. The client needs a quick run-through before the meeting. For extra slides, one more chart. Boardroom belocks to outsiders. Jared volunteers to set up the projector. The director keys the remote. Tension settles in toward the room like a net. A knock at the cubicle partition, soft, measured. A colleague leans in. Marco? The client's team is early. Can you stay and help with setup? The voice carries casual obligation. The answer carries no room for refusal. A glance to the window shows the sun receding, the ticker on the wall ticking closer to the hour. The boardroom door closes behind the director. Fluorescent light grows narrower. The copier hums. In the quiet that follows, pantyhose remain a secret folded in the plane of a daily routine. No one notices the little gloss catching the light as a file slides off the lap. No one calls it out. No one names the small transgression. A final check, a click of the mouse, then silence. Marco straightens and stands. The nylon slides soft and close. The hallway waits. The door to boardroom B opens. The moment arrives when role and secret cross paths in a way that splinters ordinary hours into something that might not return to routine. Outside, the city continues. Inside, the office braces for performance. The pantyhose hold a shape beneath the suit, a secret thread woven into the fabric of a day about to change. The office building always felt different after 7 p.m., the lights dimmer, air colder, and the silence heavy enough to settle on your shoulders like a weight. The usual chaos of printers, ringing phones, heels clicking down the hallway, all gone. Only the blinking router light in the IT room kept rhythm in the silence. Daniel swiped his ID card, and the sensor beeped softly. He stepped inside the financial firm where he had worked for 5 years, a respected analyst, known for precision, responsibility, and predictability. Exactly the kind of man who shouldn't have a secret like this. The main floor was empty, cubicles dark. Glass offices lined the walls like silent watchers. His footsteps echoed as he walked toward his cabin, the corner office he'd earned after endless nights and multiple breakdowns he never admitted to anyone. He placed his laptop bag onto the desk, but this time his fingers paused on the zipper. Inside wasn't only a laptop. For 3 days, the pair of black sheer pantyhose had been hidden beneath files and chargers. Every morning, Daniel carried them to work, and every evening he took them back home untouched. But today the building was emptier than ever. The Friday rush had ended early, the team gone for the weekend, Isabella away for her mother's birthday out of town. There would never be a safer moment. His heartbeat changed, slower, stronger, louder. He closed the blinds of the glass window facing the office floor. No one should see inside. He sat in the chair, opened the zipper, and froze for a moment as if someone might burst through the door. Nobody did. Daniel pulled out the pantyhose with careful, almost trembling fingers. They didn't weigh anything, but somehow they felt heavier than guilt. He glanced around the empty cabin. Even knowing it was empty didn't calm him. The thrill wasn't just wearing them, it was where he was wearing them. At work. The one place he was logical, serious, masculine. His hands moved automatically, unfastening his shoes, sliding them neatly to the side beneath his desk. The cool office air touched his socks, his toes curled. Then came the moment he always delayed. He removed the socks and stared at his bare legs under the desk light. Slowly, with practiced gentle motion, he rolled up the pantyhose. The silky fabric caught the light and shimmered like it was alive. He slipped one foot in, careful not just because pantyhose are delicate but because the experience was electric. He slid the fabric past his ankle, over his shin, up his calf, each inch changing something inside him, quietly but profoundly. It wasn't just cloth on skin. It was release. The second leg followed, smoother this time, almost eager. When both legs were inside, he stood, letting the material stretch and shape perfectly around him. Daniel looked down, his legs transformed into something softer, sleeker, different. A shaky breath escaped him. It wasn't just excitement. It was a strange comfort, like being seen without anyone seeing you. He walked barefoot across the carpet, pantyhose hugging tight with every step. This wasn't his bedroom mirror. This wasn't a locked bathroom. This was his office, his realm, his risk. He went back to the chair and sat down slowly, crossing his legs instinctively, and the sensation that followed was something he could never put into words. Danger tasted a lot like freedom. The clock ticked loudly now, or maybe he was just hyper-aware. His body leaned forward, eyes staring at the pantyhose hugging his thighs. He imagined stepping through the building like this, passing the reception where interns sat, the conference room where clients pitched deals, the elevator where the CEO checked stocks casually. What would they say if they knew?
If they saw?
He pressed his palms against his legs, as if to prove they were real. And then, a sound shattered the silence. A door slamming somewhere beyond the hall. Daniel froze, hands still pressed against the sheer fabric. His mind narrowed instantly. Someone had come back. He stood up fast, almost tripping over wires, nearly collapsing over the office chair. He moved toward the blinds and peeked through them, eyes darting down the hallway. Empty. But the echo hadn't been imagination. It had been sharp, solid, unmistakable. He waited. Seconds crawled. Then footsteps. Slow ones. Measured ones. Each one getting louder. Daniel's pulse crashed harder than any deadline panic or CEO evaluation he'd ever faced. Every muscle in his body locked. Even his breathing seemed too loud. His door was closed but not locked. The footsteps stopped, right outside his cabin. A shadow lingered beneath the door. Someone was standing there, waiting, listening. Daniel's brain raced. What was in the room? Shoes under the desk. Pantyhose on his legs. His suit pants folded on the chair. He reached for the desk drawer, grabbed the only thing he could use, papers, holding them in front of him like a shield, legs pressed tightly together behind the desk. The door handle twitched. Just a slight click, but enough to send panic slicing through him. Daniel forced his voice out, steady, deep. Hello? Someone there? Silence. A full 5 seconds, long enough to rip sanity apart. Then the footsteps turned away slowly, walking, fading, disappearing toward the elevator. He waited. 5 seconds.
10. 20.
Only when the distant elevator ding echoed faintly did Daniel let go of the breath he'd been holding. He leaned back in the chair, hands gripping the armrests so tight his knuckles whitened. The thrill was still there, but changed. More dangerous. More addictive. He looked down at his transformed legs again, and suddenly the silence didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like it had eyes. Even after the footsteps vanished, Daniel didn't dare move for a full minute. His chest rose and fell with small, controlled breaths, as if the wrong inhale might summon danger back. The office felt alive now, every sound sharper, every hum louder. The air conditioner's low vibration rattled his nerves in a way it never had before. Eventually he stood, very slowly, as though the room were filled with alarms. He walked back to the blinds and peeked again. Hall empty, lights dimmed. He closed the blinds fully. This time he locked the door. The lock clicked like a gunshot in the silence. This should have been the moment he took the pantyhose off. He knew that. He had been scared enough to quit for a month. But the adrenaline only made the sensation more intoxicating. His fingers ran along the sheer fabric on his thigh again. This wasn't just a hobby. It was a release valve. He'd been holding back emotions he didn't dare examine, playing roles that weren't entirely his, suffocating under expectations. Isabella's, his parents', his workplaces. In this moment, Alone in the office at night, dressed in something forbidden, something that felt like the truth, he finally inhaled deeply. He sat again, crossed one leg over the other, and the fabric whispered against itself. That soft sound alone gave him chills. A reckless idea started forming, dangerous, stupid, irresistible.
His phone.
A picture. Not for anyone else, not to send, but to keep, proof that he existed in this version of himself, even if hidden. A memory of this night, this freedom. His hands hesitated over the phone for a long time. One picture. Just one. He stood, angled his body slightly so the desk and office background framed the shot. The expensive wood, the certificate on the wall with Daniel Morgan, senior analyst, the city skyline faint through blinds. Juxtaposition itself was thrilling. He lifted the phone. Snap. The flash went off. His stomach dropped. The flash lit the entire room, bright, sudden, impossible to ignore. He clenched the phone in both hands, near dropping it as the last of the white light faded from his vision. The office looked normal again, but his heart wasn't. He replayed the image, slender legs in black pantyhose, crossed elegantly, expensive office behind. The sight hit him in the chest like a confession spoken aloud. He looked beautiful. Not feminine exactly, but different.
Free.
Another photo. This time sitting, then standing. Then a close-up of his legs, near the desk edge. Dangerous. Addictive. He should delete them, but he saved them instead. And then the spiral continued. What if he tried more? He checked his laptop bag again. Under papers was a black mid-thigh skirt he'd folded so tightly it barely took space. He brought it today by accident, telling himself he'd leave it untouched. But tonight his fingers didn't hesitate. The skirt slid up smoothly over the pantyhose, the fabric gliding dangerously well. Not zipped yet, but enough to see the effect. His suit shirt and tie looked absurd with it, but that didn't matter. The moment was what mattered. The version of himself he was piecing together was more real than the one printed on business cards. A smile formed, so small he barely recognized it. The door handle clicked. Again. This time more sharp. More real. Daniel froze mid-breath. The skirt was around his waist, pantyhose exposed, tie perfectly straight, shoes off, panic rising up his spine like electricity. He dove behind his desk chair, yanking the skirt down and stuffing it under papers. He grabbed the gray office jacket and placed it on his lap, covering his legs. The handle turned harder. Someone was actually trying to enter. He forced his voice out through a tight throat. Occupied. Another click. And another. A pause. Then a female voice. Daniel? It's me, Lauren. Lauren. The last name he wanted to hear. Lauren Bennett, assistant manager, ambitious, observant, always staying late herself. Known for catching details others missed. Daniel? I saw your office light on. Thought you already left. His brain scrambled for logical lies. Just finishing paperwork, he called. Give me 1 second. 1 second felt like a funeral countdown. Daniel scanned desperately. No shoes, legs visible below the desk, skirt buried but not hidden. He frantically slid his chair forward, thighs pressed under the desk, so tight the pantyhose squeaked. He grabbed the first folder he saw, opened it upside down, pretending to review papers. Come in, he finally forced out. The door opened. Lauren stepped inside, holding a folder, hair tied, blazer off but professionalism intact. Footsteps confident. She closed the door behind her. Daniel's pulse skyrocketed. That door shouldn't have been closed. So sorry to bother you, she said casually, walking closer than comfort allowed. Finance emailed. There's a discrepancy in your report from Wednesday. Daniel nodded mechanically, pretending to focus on imaginary spreadsheets. He prayed she wouldn't sit, wouldn't drop a pen, wouldn't look down. Lauren placed the folder directly on his desk and leaned slightly forward. You okay? She asked. You look flushed. The irony nearly choked him. Just a long day, he replied, voice intentionally low, trying to disguise any tremble. She smiled politely, not warmth, just acknowledgement. Then her eyes lowered. Not dramatically. just naturally as people do when they speak. Daniel's stomach twisted into knots. Her gaze stopped. At his lap. At the jacket awkwardly draped, fists gripping it too tight. Her eyes lingered a half-second longer than necessary. A heartbeat too long. She blinked and straightened again, but her expression wasn't identical to before. Something had shifted. A static filled the silence. Anyway, she continued, voice neutral but different. Email the corrected file before Monday. It's important. He nodded. She turned, hand on the door.
Paused.
Without facing him, she asked lightly, "Were you going somewhere after this? You're dressed a little."
A beat.
Different. Daniel didn't answer, because there was no safe answer. Lauren didn't wait for one. She simply opened the door and left. The moment her footsteps faded, Daniel's body sagged like the adrenaline had melted his bones. His breathing came broken, his skin clammy. He was sure of only one thing.
She saw something.
Not everything, but something. The pantyhose were nearly invisible from far, but up close, with office lights, with her eyes. Daniel pressed both hands against his face. This wasn't fantasy thrill anymore. Something real had cracked open. Something that wouldn't be contained by locking a door. Daniel sat motionless long after Lauren had gone, the silence around him too loud, too sharp, too judgmental. The office, usually a cage that kept his secret contained, now felt like a witness that had betrayed him. He finally moved, threading shaking fingers through his hair. He needed to go home. He needed to calm down. Most of all, he needed to forget tonight. He slipped his shoes back on, the pantyhose still soft beneath the leather, each movement reminding him this wasn't a dream and wasn't gone. He pulled his jacket lower until it nearly touched his knees. He carefully retrieved the skirt from under the papers, folded it so small it barely existed, stuffed it deep in his bag. He checked the door twice before opening it. The hallway was empty. The elevator ride was agonizing. Every floor ding felt like an accusation. By the time he reached his car, the adrenaline had faded, leaving only exhaustion and fear. He tossed the bag into the passenger seat and sat motionless, forehead against the steering wheel. How stupid, he muttered. But mixed inside the anxiety was something he hated admitting.
Excitement.
The picture still saved on his phone burned through his pocket like a secret flame. A part of him wanted to delete it. Another part, the louder part, wanted to look again. He drove home through the quiet streets, city lights blurring past, mind racing faster than the car. When he pulled into the driveway, the house was dark. Isabella wasn't back yet.
Good.
He went inside. He threw the bag under the bed. The pantyhose remained on his legs. He told himself he'd remove them after a minute. After a drink. After he calmed down. He collapsed on the couch and stared at the ceiling as the room swallowed him in silence.
His phone buzzed.
A simple notification. Lauren Bennett, 11:47 p.m. His blood froze. He stared at the screen, not opening the message. The preview alone was enough to steal every ounce of breath. "We need to talk about what I saw." Daniel felt the floor tilt beneath him. The phone shook in his hand. He opened the message. "Lauren, you left in a hurry." "Lauren, I don't want to jump to conclusions." "Lauren, but I definitely saw something tonight." "Lauren, we should have a conversation. Privately." He read it twice. 3 times. No other wording in the English language had ever felt heavier than privately. His first instinct was denial. Excuses. Create a story. Tell her the fabric was from a medical sleeve, from compression wear, from anything other than what it was. But even in panic, he recognized something. Lauren wasn't accusing. She wasn't laughing. She wasn't spreading rumors yet. The phone buzzed again. "Lauren, don't worry. I'm not going to say anything to anyone." "Lauren, but I want clarity." "Lauren, tomorrow. Conference room B. After lunch. Alone." Daniel placed the phone on the table like it might explode. His entire career, 10 years of work, dependable reputation, respected presence, all suddenly rested on tomorrow's conversation. He stood and began pacing, pantyhose rustling faintly, a reminder of the root of this unraveling. His reflection caught the TV screen, just enough to notice the shape of his legs. The way the pantyhose hugged them. The way his posture changed when he wore them. He sat, unlocked the phone, opened the photo gallery. The first picture, his legs crossed, framed by the authoritative background, still intoxicated him. It felt illegal and beautiful and wrong and right.
He zoomed in.
The fabric shimmered lightly under flash. A different side of him existed here. A side he wasn't sure he wanted to erase. Another buzz. A different name. Isabella, thought Balloon. His stomach dropped again. He opened it. Isabella. Running late, babe. Isabella. Be home in 20. Isabella. Want me to pick anything up? Relief washed over him like warm water. Normal conversation. Normal life. Normal Daniel. He typed back quickly. Daniel, no need. Drive safe. He looked down at the pantyhose, still hugging his legs. He had minutes. Not hours. He rushed to the bedroom. He peeled the pantyhose off slowly, too slowly. The silky fabric clung like it didn't want to leave. He shoved them deep into the bottom drawer under old jeans. He changed into sweatpants. He splashed cold water on his face and rehearsed being ordinary. By the time Isabella walked in, he was sitting on the couch, pretending to scroll through his phone casually. She kissed him lightly. He smiled normally.
Or tried.
She collapsed beside him, groaning about traffic, work, coworkers, normal problems. He listened, but his mind wasn't here. His mind was in the office, in the pantyhose, in Lauren's message, in tomorrow. Because tonight had been a secret thrill. But tomorrow had consequences. The email notification echoed in the silent office like a gunshot. From unknown. Subject, you look stunning in pantyhose. My entire body went cold. My finger wouldn't even move toward the mouse. I could hear my heartbeat louder than the air conditioning. Slowly, very slowly, I clicked the email. I regret that I did. Inside the message was a single image.
Me.
Standing in front of the office mirror. Pantyhose hugging my legs. Heels on my feet. Soft makeup. The perfect angle. The perfect exposure. Someone had taken the photograph, not from inside the restroom, but from the slightly open ventilation gap in the wall tile. The angle was impossible otherwise. Meaning, someone already knew. Someone had been watching. Someone planned this. And they weren't done. Beneath the photo was a message. You keep this between us. Or the entire company sees how you really like to dress. Follow instructions. Or everyone finds out exactly what you are. Step 1. Wear pantyhose again tomorrow. But this time don't hide it. My breath left me. Tomorrow? Not hiding it? Impossible. I slammed the laptop shut. My brain ran in nightmares. The CEO's reaction. The HR meeting. The whispers. The jokes. The disgusted looks. My family. My reputation. My entire life was like a tower built from glass. One crack, and everything shattered. I walked to the bathroom sink, splashing water on my face, gripping the edges like holding onto the edge of a cliff.
Who was it?
A coworker? A janitor? Security? Someone who worked night shifts? Someone who saw something weeks ago and waited for the perfect moment? Or worse, someone who wanted something more than just blackmail. The next morning, I came to work early, pantyhose under my trousers, trying not to shake. I checked my email first thing. There it was. Another message. You didn't follow instructions. I said visible. Come to conference room B at 10:30 a.m. Alone. My hands trembled as I read. 10:30 came like a countdown to execution. I walked down the hallway, every step heavier. When I reached conference B, I turned the handle slowly. The room was dark. Lights off. Curtains closed. But someone was inside. The door closed behind me with a soft click, and a voice came from the corner, calm, almost amused. You know, you really do have the legs for it. My stomach twisted. They stepped into the light. And that face. I never expected it. I never imagined it. It made everything worse. Because it wasn't some stranger. It wasn't a creepy janitor. It wasn't a silent security guard. It was someone I knew, someone respected, someone who should have never seen me like that, someone who now held every part of my identity hostage. They smirked, confident, relaxed, like they owned the room, owned me. Relax, they said. I'm not here to ruin you. At least, not if you cooperate. I felt the walls close in. I couldn't breathe. Now, let's start with something simple. Lift your pant leg. Show me you're wearing them. I froze. They waited, smiling. Power, real power, was in their eyes. They didn't want money. They didn't want silence. They wanted control. Over me. Over this secret.
Over who I was allowed to be. My mouth was dry.
My hands were shaking. Slowly, against everything inside me screaming no. I lifted the hem of my work trousers. The sheer black pantyhose glimmered in the faint light. They grinned. Good. We're just getting started. And that moment, that single, humiliating, terrifying moment, was when I realized this wasn't about a photo. This was a game. A dangerous one. One where I was the pawn and someone else was moving the pieces. And all I could think was,
how far will they take this?
And how far will I be forced to go to protect my life, my job, my identity? Because deep inside, part of me wasn't only terrified. Part of me was curious. And that scared me more than anything. He circled me slowly, like a predator that finally cornered the prey it hunted for too long. The conference room lights were dim, just enough to see each other's silhouettes. His voice stayed calm, smooth, rehearsed. You're going to do exactly what I tell you. I swallowed hard. My voice was barely a whisper. Why are you doing this? He leaned forward, hands on the table, eyes locked onto mine. Because I can. And for the first time, I understood something terrifying. This wasn't accidental. He had been waiting for a long time to catch someone vulnerable. Someone with a secret big enough to destroy them. And, unfortunately, that someone was me. He slid a small paper bag across the table. Put them on. Inside were heels.
Black.
4-inch.
Glossy.
Elegant. Heels that belonged to a woman brave enough to wear them proudly. Not a man cowering in fear. My breath caught. You can't be serious. He smiled. Oh, but I am. He walked toward the door, locked it, pocketed the key.
Put them
on. I looked at the heels, my heart pounding so loud I could hear it echo. If anyone walked in, if a camera recorded, if someone opened the door, I would never recover. But if I refused, my life was already on the edge of a cliff. One push, and everything fell. Hands trembling, I removed my shoes. The floor was cold against my pantyhose-covered feet.
He watched.
Judging. Waiting. Enjoying. I slipped into the heels. They fit almost too well. Like they were meant for me. He nodded, satisfied. Good. Now walk. Humiliation burned hotter than fear. Each step was shaky, awkward, forcing me to remember every video I had secretly watched, hoping nobody ever knew why I watched them. He made me walk the length of the room and back. Slowly. Deliberately. Own it because he demanded I own it. When I stopped, breathless and humiliated, he leaned back in the chair. You know, he said casually, you're not the first. Those words froze me. Not the first. He steepled his fingers, eyes narrowing. People hide things. Every company has secrets. Every building has shadows. Some men hide money. Some hide affairs. And some hide who they want to be. He pushed a folder toward me. Inside, photos of other men in this company.
Dressed.
Made up. Wearing women's clothing. Some confident.
Some scared like me.
But all caught. My stomach tightened. My fear evolved into confusion. What do you want? Are you collecting blackmail? He laughed, not cruelly but knowingly. Blackmail?
No.
Opportunities. That word twisted everything. He leaned closer. You think you're alone? You think no one else has ever wanted something different? I don't expose people. I offer them a choice. My voice cracked. What choice? He motioned toward the file again. I help them explore what they're afraid to admit.
Safely. Privately.
Controlled. You're running some secret transformation group?
He smirked.
Call it whatever makes you feel less scared. Suddenly, the fear didn't feel the same. It wasn't disappearing, but reshaping. This wasn't just about humiliation. It was about control and permission. Because the ugly truth, a part of me, small but undeniable, felt alive in those heels. He studied my face. Look at you. You're not panicking anymore. I still want to throw up, I muttered. He chuckled. Maybe. But you're not taking the heels off. I looked down. He was right. I wasn't. Which terrified me even more. Then he stood and unlocked the door. No more threats. No more blackmail. If you never want to speak about this again, walk out and it ends here. That hit harder than any threat. Just like that, I whispered. Just like that.
Pause.
Or, come back Friday after hours. Not as him. As her. My brain spiraled. He wasn't forcing me. He wasn't pushing. He was offering. An invitation made more dangerous than any demand. As I stepped out of the room, heels clicking against the corporate floor, the hallway felt different. Not darker. Not scarier. Just different. Every tap of the heel was a question. Was this trauma? Was this curiosity? Was this blackmail? Or was this permission? That night at home, I stood in front of the mirror. Pantyhose still on. Heels beside the bed. I stared at myself, really stared. And I hated that I didn't hate what I saw. The email notification chimed again. I expected threats. Photos. Demands. Instead, no pressure. Choice is yours. Friday, 8 p.m. Back in trance. My hand hovered over delete, over reply, over block. But I did none of those things. I simply closed the laptop and stared at the heels. My secret wasn't shattered. It was exposed, but not destroyed. And the worst part, maybe the most honest part, for the first time, I wasn't afraid someone else would discover her. I was afraid of what I would discover about her myself. Because the real question wasn't, what if they find out? The real question was, what if I want them to? Friday evening arrived faster than I expected. The week had been unbearable. Every glance from coworkers, every passing whisper in the hall, felt like a test I hadn't yet studied for. I hadn't slept well, haunted by the memory of the conference room, the photos, the heels, and the strange exhilaration mingled with fear. I parked a block away from the office, just as instructed. Back entrance. Alone. My heart thumped against my chest with a rhythm that felt both threatening and thrilling. The heels I'd left at home, waiting like patient sentinels, seemed to call to me from the corner of my bedroom. The pantyhose were folded carefully in my drawer, ready for the evening. I had made my decision. I was going back. Inside the car, I changed. Pantyhose slid over my legs like a second skin, familiar yet electrifying. The skirt and blouse were elegant, subtle, professional, but feminine enough to mark the shift. My hands trembled as I fastened my shoes. Every movement reminded me of last week, the humiliation, the control, the thrill. And now I was choosing it. I arrived at the back entrance, a quiet, shadowed doorway few noticed. The lights were dim, flickering slightly, casting long, uncertain shadows across the concrete. I paused, inhaled deeply, and stepped in. The door closed behind me with a soft click that felt louder than any bell in the building. The conference room from last week was empty, but not for long. He appeared from the shadows, calm, authoritative, and still unnervingly amused. "You made it," he said. His voice carried no malice, only expectation. "Good. Come in." I followed. My heels clicked against the polished floor, each tap echoing in my chest. My body was tense, but my mind oddly focused. "Relax," he instructed. "Nothing here will hurt you, but everything will test you." I stopped in front of him. The conference table stretched between us like a bridge I wasn't sure I could cross. He gestured toward a chair, But I didn't sit. I had made a silent decision. I wasn't here to be passive. I want to know what this is, I said, voice steady but soft, and why you brought me back. He tilted his head, eyes glinting.
Because you're ready, he said.
Because you're the one who crossed the line between fear and curiosity, between shame and acceptance. And because now you have a choice, one you've never truly had before. He reached into the folder and pulled out more photos. This time, they were different. Men and women, various ages, all dressed elegantly, confidently, unapologetically.
Not secret, not hidden.
They own themselves. Do you see? He asked. These people weren't forced. They chose it. They embraced what they were afraid to explore. And now, it's your turn. My stomach twisted. The air felt thick, heavy with possibility. My entire life, career, relationships, reputation was here, suspended in these few moments. And yet, a strange calm seeped into me. What happens if I refuse? I asked, almost whispering. He smiled, almost tenderly. Nothing changes except your chance to explore yourself. You walk out. You go back to your old life.
Safe. Ordinary.
Predictable. But empty in a way only you will know. I swallowed. My fingers grazed the pantyhose covering my legs. I looked down at the heels. The fabric, the shine, the way it made me feel alive, aware, daring. And if I accept? He leaned closer. Then you step fully into who you are. Fully. With guidance. With control. Without shame. But nothing is reversible after the first step. Not really. You'll see the world differently. You'll see yourself differently. And the rest will be up to you. I closed my eyes. The memories of last week, the rush, the danger, the exposure, the fear flashed before me. Every moment had led to this one. And now, the choice was mine. I opened my eyes. I could feel the power of possibility pulsing through me, tingling like electricity from my head to toes. My voice, when it came, was firm. I'll do it. He smiled, not cruelly this time. Warm, approving, almost proud.
Good.
Step forward. Welcome to the real beginning. I took a deep breath, stepped fully into the center of the room, feeling the heels, the pantyhose, the skirt, the new skin I had chosen to inhabit. The air seemed to shift. Shadows became sharper, the room brighter, the future uncertain, but mine. And then, just as I took my first confident step forward, my phone vibrated. A single message. From Isabella. Isabella, I know. Be careful tonight. But I trust you. My heart skipped a beat. Relief.
Fear.
Anticipation.
Love.
Judgment. Judgment was gone, replaced by curiosity, understanding, connection. I exhaled. I looked at him. He nodded. The door closed behind me. The hallway was silent. The choice was made. The night had just begun. And in that moment I realized this was not the end of the secret. Not by a long shot. It was the beginning of a life I had never dared imagine.